ए पागल है क्या रे तू? तुम्हारा दिमाग खराब है क्या? मजाक में ये सेंटेंसेस हम अक्सर एक दूसरे को बोल देते हैं, है ना? और अगर हम दुनिया से, भीड़ से हटकर कुछ काम करते हैं तो हमें ऐसे शब्द सुनने पड़ते हैं। अरे वो तो पागल है, दिमाग खराब है उसका। मजाक में कहे हुए शब्द हम सुन तो लेते हैं, आदत भी पड़ चुकी है दोस्तों के साथ, लेकिन कभी कभी ये शब्द हमारे दिमाग में गहरा असर छोड़ देता है। वो अलग बात है कि हम इग्नोर करने में बहुत ही ज्यादा माहिर हैं। सोचिए, अगर हर दूसरे इंसान को ये सब सुनना पड़ता है और परेशान हो जाते हैं, जैसे कि आप और मैं, तो जिन्हें ओसीडी, एडीएचडी, बाइपोलर और दूसरे मेंटल डिसऑर्डर्स हैं, वो क्या क्या झेलते होंगे अपने डेली लाइफ में। क्या क्या लोग उन्हें बोलते होंगे, उनके दिमाग में अपने बारे में कितनी नेगेटिव फीलिंग्स और इनसिक्योरिटीज आ जाती होंगी। कभी सोचा है आपने? ये मेंटल डिसऑर्डर्स किसी को भी हो सकते हैं। यू वोंट रियली एबल टू नोटिस इन एनीवन, और द वन विद द डिसऑर्डर्स माइट नॉट एक्सप्रेस इट राइट अवे, but it might affect one, and we have no idea how much we might hurt someone with these disorders to the core and destroy lives. इनके बारे में नॉलेज होना और उस नॉलेज को शेयर करना बहुत ही जरूरी है। मेंटल इलनेस को एड्रेस करती हुई एक एंथोलॉजी जिंदगीनामा सोनी लिव पर स्ट्रीम हो रही है, released on 10th of this month, which is celebrated as World Mental Health Day every year. मेरे ख्याल से ये सबसे अच्छा दिन था इस एंथोलॉजी को रिलीज करने का, and to reach out to people on this topic. इसमें 6 स्टोरीज हैं और इन्हीं में से एक स्टोरी द डेली पपेट शो की डायरेक्टर राखी सांदिल्या, who made the feature film Ribbon, और साथ में है द डेली पपेट शो की DoP, डायरेक्टर ऑफ फोटोग्राफी, पूजा गुप्ते, who has worked with films like Silence 2, released this year in April. Another film of her, Rukh, for which she won Best Cinematography Award. ये दोनों talented ladies आज हमारे साथ हैं. Welcome to Boondein Podcast, you beautiful, very talented ladies. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Pooja and Rakhee. So without wasting any more time, let me shoot the very interesting questions I can't wait to ask you guys. Yeah. So Rakhee, my first question would be for you. Your debut feature film Ribbon which was about the difficulties that working parents face managing their professional and personal life. People could literally relate themselves with that movie, and they loved it. I don't want to miss to mention my favorites, Sumit Vyas and Kalki, who were stunners in Ribbon. And now this movie on mental health, which we all know is a topic very less talked about and discussed about. It is in fact another taboo in India. हम आपसे जानना चाहते हैं इस मूवी की पूरी जर्नी, the research that was required in the making of the film, and every bit we need to know here today. Over to you, Rakhee.
Yeah, so basically this story was actually developed by Applause along with Antimatter, and so I'll tell you a bit about the background of this show, Zindaginama. So this concept of Zindaginama was basically developed by Applause along with Antimatter and Empire Group. Empire Group is run by Mrs. Birla, and she is pretty much the brain behind this whole show. During pandemic, they thought of this concept, and they realized that we don't make many shows which deals or which has issues around mental health. So they had which they discussed internally. And as you know that Applause is one of the biggest content creator of India. So they kind of worked together along with the writers, where they developed stories which will primarily focus on different kinds of mental health that people face on day-to-day basis, and also that usually we see around ourselves, but we don't talk about it. So all these stories were developed, and then we were like, these stories came to the directors. So one of the story that basically was pitched to me was the Daily Puppet Show, and I really liked it because it was a love story. From the outside, it felt like a love story, like, a pretty normal love story between a boy and a girl. A cute boy meets a girl, and basically they fall in love. But as you go deeper and you delve deeper, and as you see, the character unfolding right in front of you, you realize that, this girl has some sort of an issue which she is struggling to cope with. And, in the process, she realizes that maybe the boy is not ready enough or prepared enough to deal with it. But you know how this basically comes to a full circle. So I really like this story. And also it had an element of puppet, and how this girl is doing a workshop where she's raising awareness amongst small children, school kids who are about 7 or 8 or 9 years old, and she is talking to them about mental health. So all these elements in this film were very interesting, and that's how I and that's how I basically took over this story. When this story came to me, I definitely had my own interpretation of this story. Then I contacted the other creators in the Applause, and I shared my take, how I am seeing the film visually, how we should move ahead. To make a story which should also engage people, and it should not come across as something which is extremely preachy. Because I, as a filmmaker, I always feel that telling story or engaging people in the story that we are saying is our primary motive. And then through this, if we are telling something which kind of sends a message to the people, or maybe makes other people aware about something, then that's just I would say a takeaway. So that also was the fundamental thing that I wanted to do along with the Daily Puppet Show. And pretty much, we all the creatives and the writer and everybody, we basically agreed to this, and that's how this set into motion, and we did this film.
So my next question is for Pooja. Pooja, what challenges do you face being a female DOP in a male-dominated work field? Okay. However, these days people are showing acceptance, very much acceptance in the male-female equality thing. Though फिल्म लाइन में ज्यादातर हमें सुनने को मिलता है कि मेल्स होते हैं, फीमेल सिनेमेटोग्राफर्स आर रेयर. आम लोगों को कैमरामैन या कैमरा पर्सन ही पता है. अब ये वर्ड ही देख लो, ये वर्ड ही ऑलरेडी मेल डोमिनेशन को दर्शाता है, राइट? सो व्हाट वाज योर थॉट प्रोसेस एंड योर विजन एज अ डीओपी व्हेन यू रेड द स्क्रिप्ट of the Daily Puppet Show, and what are the overall challenges that you face while shooting as a female DOP?
तो पहले तो मैं ये बोलूंगी कि मैं और राखी बहुत दिन से कोशिश कर रहे थे कि साथ में काम करें, and we had done a small documentary together, and since then it was our we wanted to work on something which is nice and close to our heart, and we could explore certain things in a certain manner. So हम दोनों बहुत एक्साइटेड थे कि साथ में काम करेंगे, एंड राखी ने मुझे एक्चुअली अप्रोच किया कि पूजा ये मैं कर रही हूँ, and would you like to be part of it? Then of course I went and met the producers, and he shared the script with me post that. देखो जब मैंने स्क्रिप्ट पढ़ी तो जैसे राखी ने बोला, because Rakhee had also worked on it as a director, it's important to have the director's vision in the script. I mean, yes, production houses, they work on the script, writers work on the script, and they create a good base. But the director gets in a lot more, because it is finally the director who's seeing things. So Rakhee had a very solid vision to this. And when I work with directors, usually, I like to, it is a big benefit as a cinematographer if the director has a vision. क्या हो जाता है कि अगर डायरेक्टर एक बेस लेवल विजुअल सोच लेता है ना, तो एज अ सिनेमाटोग्राफर आई कैन ओनली एड ऑन. द सिनेमाटोग्राफी गोज वन नॉच ऊपर. Then I am not thinking of shot taking. Yes, we discussed, me and Rakhee did a lot of prep, because it wasn't easy to, shoot the puppet show or devise it, how to devise it. There were a lot of technicalities that we had to, because even though it's a love story, there was also action, there was also puppet show, we were dealing with children. And ऐसा बोला जाता है कि there are two things which are the most difficult to shoot. One is children and another is animals.
Correct.
Because you have to be very extremely careful with them. And Rakhee is so wonderful with the children.
There is so much patience with the children and the animals.
Yes.
Correct.
मतलब Rakhee बच्चों की तरह बच्चों के साथ हो जाती थी. मतलब मैंने देखा है कि how she handled them, and because we were also working, it's a awareness film. It wasn't a commercial venture anyway. So we were in a we were working with certain budget, and any budget is always less. we had to be very particular about how we are approaching. बच्चों को एक आज रहते हैं, जितना इतनी आज ही उनके साथ आप काम कर सकते हो, तो कैसे इसमें इफेक्टिवली कितने शॉट्स लेके कितना प्लान करना है, ये सारी चीजें राखी के साथ बहुत अच्छा प्रेप हम लोगों ने कर लिया था. हमारे जो पपेटियर थे कपिल जी, उनके साथ हम लोगों ने बहुत डिस्कशन कर लिया था. हम लोगों ने एक स्पेशल टेक रेकी की थी एक्शन मास्टर, जो हमारे एक्शन डायरेक्टर थे, उनके साथ, क्योंकि it was also a lot of action, what she's thinking, how are we shooting it, and it was also eye opener for me, because OCD, हम लोग सब जानते हैं कि OCD मतलब cleanliness लेके होता है शायद, बट ये एक अलग इसमें और एक एंगल रहता है. ये मुझे एक्चुअली ये स्विच करने के बाद पता चला. So as a cinematographer, it's always exploration. I get to see a lot of places, I see a lot of people, and actually there are some directors in your bucket list, no, that you always want to work with. Rakhee has always been one of them, and वो अभी सा हाफ टिक हुआ है, अभी पूरा टिक बाकी है. तो मैं ये बोलूंगी कि तो first I'll say it is the director's vision that you sort of understand, and when you have a director who's so visually knowledgeable, then you only add on to the script, and the good thing about me and Rakhee is both of us think about edit. Cinematographer and director, me and Rakhee wanted to do or shoot, and then of course he's got his own magic to it. And we had fantastic team. Our chief AD, who and he and me worked hand in hand, because as a cinematographer, your chief AD has to understand that how you want it, because लाइट कब किस लाइट में कब शूट करना है, कितना टाइम लगेगा, क्या आगे करना है. अच्छा, ये चीज में जो टाइम लगने वाला था उससे ज्यादा टाइम लग गया है, तो वो कैसे आगे बचाना है, या आगे कैसे ये करना है. So he would keep a realistic check on us, and at the same time give us the creative freedom that we needed. And I mean, it was a fantastic team to work with. Up to the question that you said, is it a male dominated field? Yes, all fields are male dominated. My mother used to work in a bank. She also feels it's a male dominated field, even though it's a job which is 9 to 5 or 9 to 3. Her job was slightly longer, but yes. So things are changing everywhere. There is some of my seniors have founded something called Indian Women Cinematographers Collective, and there are about 180 girls that I know who are practicing cinematography. 40 of us are practicing cinematography on as DoP. And then others are doing small independent work or acing or doing second unit or doing this and that. So yes, in last decade a lot of things have changed, and it is only improving. I always say people who work with me are never the problem, because they are open. The producers, the directors, they know that there is no gender to any profession. But people who don't work or don't take the chance have to start looking at it in a different way, have to understand that there is no gender to any profession. And see, I feel gaze is how you are brought up, right? If I'm brought up in a very liberal city life, then my socio-political surrounding is different. I think in a different way. I'm a more liberal person. But if I'm brought in a small town where I have little access, my thought process is in a certain way, my society is in a certain way, then I'm also going to think like that. It's only when I come out I realize that the life is different. It's like you say, be a Roman in Rome. It's like be where you are, you have to accommodate and understand the politics of that. I will say that there's no gender. Things are improving, and there's only upwards.
So Rakhee and Pooja, my next question would be about the very talented cast of the Delhi puppet show. Shivani, Raghuvanshi and Sayandeep Sengupta. They were the perfect match for the characters Leela and Sahil, who I must say were really awesome in their specific roles.
The casting was already in place. They had literally discussed a couple of options, very similar to Shivani and Sayandeep, they had literally made up their mind that Shivani will be a very perfect cast for Leela and Sayandeep for Sahil. That's how they had gotten the two on board. However, I was very particular about Shivani's friend Namrata, and I had seen Sarvari's work in this show called A Suitable Boy, and there was a very small beautiful scene that she had done in that show, and I had loved her work in that show, which aired on Netflix. And so I told the casting director Tia to get in touch to find out this girl is, figure out her number and get in touch with her, because I really want her as Leela's friend. Because in the film, if you have seen the film, you will see that the friend also has a very, very important arc, a very important contribution to Leela's, to Leela's very strong support system that she has around herself, and also for Mrs. Gupta, which is the principal. So I have worked with Veena in the past in my film Ribbon, and Veena is a fantastic actor. So the moment I read the script, I thought that Veena will be very good as Mrs. Gupta, Sahil's mother and the school principal where Leela is doing the play therapy. So these two actors were, contacted because I wanted them. In terms of Shivani and Sayandeep, pretty much they were on board, when the script came to me.
I think all the actors that we had in front, also Rakhee was, I feel, very meticulous. She, because the puppet thing was, Shivani had to work with the puppet. So Rakhee had made sure that she gets enough time with handling the puppet. The workshop she had done with Sayandeep and Shivani, all of that has sort of helped. And you can see that, all of them have worked together, and there was so less time spent on the set explaining them, because Rakhee had done workshops with them before the shoot, and what her vision is and how she wants her actors to perform was already sort of practiced and told, and that chemistry was already sort of, because it wasn't easy. There was this one time I remember there was like we were shooting an action scene, we got late, we needed to reach the beach on time, and the magic hour was like really 10 minutes and song shots there. These people were so spontaneous because Rakhee had worked with them. She had told them how she wants the graph to be. मतलब script आप तोड़ते हो ना जब आप करते हो तो she had literally broken it in graph कि कब क्या चीजें होंगी, because this girl also has OCD. She's not comfortable with touches. So how he can and how much they can come close. All of that was discussed. So I feel for me as a camera person, it was so nice to see everybody knowing their lines, everybody rehearsed. All of them were so cooperative. We were shooting, bhare dhoop mein we were shooting with Sayandeep on the road, that sequence where he falls. But he, not once he said, I will not give you a retake. Or Shivani, for once never she said that, I will not do it. Or they were all so cooperative. And everybody was for the subject. That they all believed in the subject. So, I think that was a plus point. Plus, they're also naturals. Veena, Shivani. Shivani's eyes speak so well. Like, her emotions come out so well that, sometimes we would get lost in the take. I used to forget that I am doing camera and I used to watch her face. So, I think it was a lot of hard work. I think it was a lot of work that Rakhee did with the actors in the prep. And it also not that. When she was rehearsing, she made sure I was also coming to see how they were enacting the scene, so that I could break down with her how, how we could approach our shot taking. So a lot of things came in the prep. That's why we were very efficient on the set.
Shivani was also very invested. Shivani was extremely invested in the workshop because, when the script came to me and when I read about the puppetry, thing that is going to be a very important part in the storytelling, then I got very excited, and basically I also learned a lot about, how different kinds of puppet shows are performed on the stage. So we had Kapilji, who we hired him as a consultant, and he devised this whole puppet therapy, which is called which we have used it, and it's pretty much called like a shadow puppet. So we merged the shadow puppet and the talkie puppet together. So Shivani came and she learned how to move her hands. So when you see in the film, every time that you see that talking puppet on the stage, it's Shivani who is basically doing it, because she literally learned that thing from Kapilji. So she was also very invested along with Sayandeep and rest of the actors. And also I want to talk about how limited time we were given to shoot this show. We only had few days to shoot this show. So, I always wanted, during the workshop, I always wanted Pooja to be around so that she also has the idea how long we'll take to shoot this particular sequence and how we can quickly move from one sequence to the other sequence because of the time limitation. So, we were able, because Pooja was able to come during the workshop, we could simplify our shot taking, and we could also divide it that, okay, we'll take this, and, we will be able to edit this sequence the way we want to. So that all helped us to basically bring everything together. So along with the actors, most of the technicians who worked, I would also like to be very thankful to Anjan Anjanda, who is the
Yes.
production designer of this show, he was also very invested. I made sure, because we had such limited time, so I made sure that all the HODs, they are very much invested in the story, so that we are able to pull it off in the limited time that we are given to shoot this
Yeah.
particular show. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's true, like what Rakhee is saying, Anjanda put in so much effort, and even Tina, who did costume and makeup and everybody, because see, all of this is our look. That all of these designs are look. Cinematography is one thing, but 80% of look is derived from production design, makeup, your costume. So I think it was really a good team.
Yeah, absolutely. We would not have been able to do it without, we certainly would not have been able to pull it off in such a, time constraint space if we would not have worked as a team.
Yeah. That one more thing I want to add is, in fact, the puppet show, how Kapil ji has also devised it. So for me, there was so much canvas, how Leela's house will look, how Sayandeep's house will look, and how a school should look, and everything. There was so much canvas. There was love story, there was puppet show, there was children, there was action. So as a cinematographer, when you get to do all of this in one film, it's a delight. And I would also like to say that, when we were shooting the puppet show, so we did the shadow thing, but because we shot with the children and there was so little time for us to finish shooting the puppet show. I remember Rajiv had come, and Rajiv and me and Rakhee sat and we decided what exactly to shoot, because it was very important to understand, what the editor will finally end up keeping. So we only kept like very little, we only shot to what we are going to use. So I think when you have a team which is like completely in one wavelength and so synchronized, it helps. And I think all the films that work on certain budgets, prep is extremely important, and I think we just managed to do it in a right way.
So Pooja, we were interested to know a little interesting and fun things that might have happened during the shoot. और आपने थोड़ा सा mention भी किया था वो जो truck वाला scene था. I heard there was something very funny and interesting that happened during the shot. If you just could like to share the scene with us.
Oh, so the truck instance. So the truck has to come close to the camera and stop. Only then, it looked what it had to look. So I was like, this is so scary because I'm looking through my lens, right? So for me, the truck seems as if it's stopping very close to me. It was at a safe distance and every precaution was taken. But, it was like, oh God, this truck is coming to me.
All of a sudden, you might have been feeling like खतरों के खिलाड़ी वाले शो पे हम आ गए हैं.
हाँ, मतलब मैं बोल रही थी दिमाग में मैं लव स्टोरी शूट कर रही हूँ, मेंटल हेल्थ पे ये शूट कर रही हूँ, ट्रक क्यों आ रहा है?
Yeah, and also, you know what? The action directors, they are so used to shooting with multi-camera, right? Our action director Dada, he will always say roll cameras, and then Pooja would be like, yeah, but there is just one camera, or मैं दूसरा camera roll करूँ. So for the first 2-3.
So my attendant would go, madam दूसरा camera किधर है? नहीं है.
So it used to be like,
usually action is shot. Yeah, action is shot in 2 or 3 cameras so that you get enough magnifications. You don't have that, and the action director doesn't have to repeat the whole thing. And but we were also very particular, ना, मतलब हमारा एक shot ही चाहिए था. तो 2 cameras की जरूरत थी नहीं. होती तो, I mean, me and Rakhee would have made sure that it was there. So we were, but the action directors are so used to so many cameras that it was in a system. He would say, roll cameras, and then he would look at me and say, नहीं एक रुक कर लो, आपका कैमरा रोल कर लो. So yeah. Also we were shooting action, so जहाँ पे action था वहाँ पे थोड़ा हम लोगों ने lighting ये किया है, but there were also, it was a love story, so we wanted to keep it a little glamorous. So राखी ने एक basic mood board ready करके रखा था कि पूजा, this is my base and feel free to add on more. So then I also showed her some things that I'm thinking, and then that's how we sort of gelled what equipment to use, when to so we were all in sync कि कैसे कौन किस जगह पे क्या आएगा. तो काम बिना बोले आगे बढ़ता रहता था.
So would you also like to tell our viewers a summary maybe about the 5 other stories which were equally interesting? हमें बहुत सारे इंटरेस्टिंग कास्ट भी दिख रहे हैं, जैसे कि सुमित व्यास है, श्रेयस तलपड़े है, प्राजक्ता, श्वेता बासु, और ये पूरी एंथोलॉजी जो है मेंटल हेल्थ पे है और कई मेंटल इश्यूज को एड्रेस किया गया है. इफ यू कुड जस्ट टेक अस थ्रू ऑल द स्टोरीज इन शॉर्ट.
Yeah, sure. So as I said, earlier as we spoke earlier, that there are 6 different kinds of stories, and all these 6 different kinds of stories are dealing with different kinds of mental health issues. So every story is addressing something very different to the other story. So one of the story is 1+1, which deals with eating disorder. That has been beautifully shot by Mitakshara, and it is written by Mallika Kumar, who happens to be the writer of Daily Puppet Show as well. Then there is another story, Bhavar. Beautiful. I loved Bhavar. Bhavar is about post-traumatic stress disorder. So something that you have seen as a child, and as a child you are not able to explain what you are feeling, and that feeling is subdued in your heart and in your mind so badly that as you grow it becomes very, very difficult to control, and how that makes your life like literally difficult is all about, Bhavar is all about that. It's a beautiful story. Then उसके बाद है स्वागतम, which is about schizophrenia. And what I liked in Swagatam is it's not just dealing with the person who has schizophrenia, but also his wife, who is equally sailing in the same boat. I mean, dealing with people in the society, the people in the society, how they perceive her husband, and then at the same time coping with the illness of that husband, because sometimes you don't realize that while you are treating somebody who is ill in your family, very easily you also fall in that trap. So how do you create a balance while taking care of somebody who you love and who is suffering from mental illness? So it's a beautiful film. Swagatam is like really beautifully shot and very beautifully toned. Then there is a film called Caged, which is written and directed by Danny. And he also happens to work with Antimatter, so they have they work with people with mental health and all that. So Caged is all about meeting somebody at a very right time, and who basically comes as a catalyst or as a medium to tell you what is right or what is wrong with you, and how you should look within yourself or look at yourself differently, which I feel we don't still have in our society much. Like, if I'm feeling something different, most of the people will say, "Arey, ye ho jayega," ya "Ye ek din ki baat hai," ya "Ye aisa hai," because we have certain parameters to define what normal people do. And other than that, if you do something, everybody will like, अरे ये तो ऐसा है या ये तो वैसा है. So वो बहुत interesting लगा मुझे Caged भी. Then there is another story called Purple Dunya, a very trippy film, fantastic film. So, with the advent of all this technology, mobile phones, laptops and all that, a lot of our time is invested in on screen, and we are very badly invested in video games or different kinds of games. So how do you get addicted to one of these games, and how you start seeing this whole world through a very different perspective, through a very different lens. So आपको normal दुनिया में भी you start seeing characters that you kind of see in your video games, and so it's beautiful, and how this character deals with this with this thing is all about dealt in Purple Dunya. It's very beautifully dealt. Also, I love the bits where he is meeting the the consultant, and the kind of interaction that he is having with her. It's also very beautifully made film. So all these 6 films are very beautiful in the way that they are trying to convey things about mental health.
Yeah, I also think that they are very nicely told, very nicely shot. And I like how every film is organic in their own way. And we were not made, nobody of us was made to, stick to one sort of style. So that is what is making everything look very unique and, right to their own ways of telling stories.
Also, the way all the stories, also, Bishakha, what I liked about this show is the way they have handled everything, which is very sensitive in the way that they have handled all the stories. They are not trying to preach people, but they are just trying to make people aware that if you are one of them, then don't think that you are it's just you who is going through this shit, or maybe you are the one which has got the problem. No, it's not like that. We also have people in these stories who have been through this, and they know how to deal with it. So maybe you can also you will also know how to deal with it, which I felt was very unique and very sensitively handled at a very right time.
Wonderfully said and explained. So as we come to an end of this episode, Pooja and Rakhee, I want to thank you both once again for joining us today for this wonderful and informative episode on Boondein Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you both for having us. And thank you, Rakhee, for making me part of this. It is so wonderful to sit with you, and I look forward for more of work together and more of interviews of both of us coming and talking about
yes, indeed, yes. It was again, I have always, which you have said very rightly, that I always wanted to work with you, and we have to work on many more projects, Pooja. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you guys for having us. Thank you.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. I want to thank both of you once again for joining us today for this wonderful and informative episode on Boondein Podcast. Thank you so much. So viewers, Boondein Podcast का ये एपिसोड आपको कैसा लगा? प्लीज कमेंट सेक्शन में बताएं. क्या आपके आसपास ऐसा कोई है जिसको आप अब हमारे इस डिस्कशन के बाद बेहतर समझ पाओगे? इनफैक्ट आई वांट टू शेयर कि मेरी एक बहुत ही प्यारी भांजी है, मोर और लेस थोड़ा सा ऐसा ही प्रॉब्लम है, along with cerebral palsy by birth, where her nervous system do not carry the informations of her body to the brain and leaving behind her body fully dependent on someone else. But the brain is very sharp. It is as sharp as any other normal child around her or us. But she goes through many emotional issues because of cerebral palsy. Initially, it was really hard for us to understand, eventually we found her problem after she turned 1.5-year-old. When it was high time, जब वो crawl नहीं कर रही थी, चल नहीं रही थी, चल नहीं पा रही थी, हालांकि वो कोशिश बहुत कर रही थी, being such a in a tender age, like 1.5 साल की बच्ची बहुत कोशिश कर रही थी, exercises हम try कर रहे थे, but बहुत टाइम लगा हमें जब पता चला कि उसको cerebral palsy है और she'll be totally dependent on someone else. So yeah, it is very important for us to educate about these disorders or issues faced by people around us, our loved ones, Okay, so before I get more emotional thinking about her, especially because she recently turned 15 yesterday, in fact, and I'm really very proud of her. I'm really very proud of her, and I love her a lot. So आप लोग भी इस एंथोलॉजी जिंदगी नामा को जाके देखें और मेरी ही तरह आप भी इस टॉपिक को बेहतर समझ पाएंगे, आई एम श्योर. अगर आप पहली बार देख रहे हैं, प्लीज सब्सक्राइब टू आवर चैनल, लाइक, कमेंट एंड शेयर एज मच एज पॉसिबल. Please hear us on different platforms like Spotify, Amazon Music, Gaana, JioSaavn, Hubhopper, Hungama, and Anchor. Like, follow, and share. Comment on our Facebook and Instagram pages too. Links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching.